next speaker, and our next speaker is an immensely popular and dynamic surgeon, an innovator, and a teacher par excellence, Dr. Virendra Sangwan, a star gem, I'm sure, in the Shroff Charity Hospital at New Delhi, and he's going to teach us more in the next few minutes on Sjogren's syndrome, presenting features, diagnostic tools, and management options. I don't know how he's going to cover it all. Yes, 10 minutes.
Today is the poster boy, if I may say so, in Times of India. Sir's liquid cornea has, featured.
Oh, so congratulations, Dr. Virendra Sangwan. You were so quiet.
All over the newspapers. All patients are asking us, what is this?
Thank you very much, Chitra and Namrata. This the work I have been doing for a long time. But when it comes in the newspaper, it becomes a news. So, ठीक है भाई, वो भी चलता रहेगा. Thank you very much for the kind invitation, and I will speak very briefly on Sjogren's syndrome, its clinical presentation and management. So, ocular surface essentially consists of three elements: preocular tear film, surface epithelia, ocular surface sensitivity. So, all three elements in the right amount are required for the optimal functioning of the surface, and the other factors that you should remember in further breakdown of these elements is compositional factors and hydrodynamic factors. So for a postgraduate, it's important to understand how these things work and what are their relative role. I won't go into the details of the different components and their role. Another important ignored factor is the role of conjunctiva in maintenance of the tear film. It's a very important tissue which provides a protective covering for the entire eyeball. It is essential for integrity of the tear film, and which is essential for the corneal transparency. 80% of the refraction happens at the tear-air interface, tear film-air interface. Therefore, the epithelium is so important. And similarly, the role of the conjunctiva-associated lymphoid tissue and in the overall surface health of the ocular surface. Also, it's very clear in last 20 years that the dry eye, any dry eye, once it is sets in, is an immune-mediated disease. Whether the disease is systemic or organ-specific or a tissue-specific, that's the question. So we're talking about Sjogren's syndrome, which is a systemic autoimmune. It is primary and secondary. I'll discuss those as we proceed. It's essentially a disease of the glandular and ocular surface epithelial cells, and they participate in their own destruction. It's a severe aqueous tear deficiency, and in which both the basic and reflex tearing get affected. Histologically, when you look at that, there is an infiltration of the glands with the CD4 T cells. And there is a marked female preponderance, 9-1 in 4th to 5th decade. Then there is diagnostic criteria. We'll discuss more in details, but briefly for an ophthalmologist, important to know that it's a keratoconjunctivitis sicca, xerostomia, and on tissue, if there is a diagnostic biopsy, it's a lymphocytic infiltration which can be demonstrated. And then there is a lab criteria in the form of autoantibodies like ANA, rheumatoid factor, SSA, or SSB. So Sjogren's disease is an inflammatory condition that affects the multiple tissues, especially the exocrine glands across the body. Primarily, main targets are the mouth and the mouth mucosal surfaces and eye. And usually its diagnosis is delayed. There are two forms: primary, wherein there is no other systemic connective tissue disorder, and secondary, where there is an obvious clinical or subclinical or laboratory evidence of a systemic disease like rheumatoid arthritis, systemic lupus, or Wegener's granulomatosis. The symptoms consist of severe dry eye signs. It is not a usual kind of a dry eye. It's a middle-aged female associated with dry mouth, fatigue, joint pain, and suspected or confirmed autoimmunity. There can be a multi-organ autoimmune disease as well. These are some of the clinical pictures of different manifestations. These are the oral manifestations, which we ophthalmologists generally ignore or don't ask about. It's very important to ask these leading questions about symptoms or involvement of the other organ system, especially the mouth, and unusual taste or difficulty in swallowing or drinking too much water, difficulty in talking. Other extraocular manifestations include fatigue, malaise, fever, arthralgias, and variety of other clinical signs and findings. The diagnostic criteria and classification is based on American Rheumatology Association, and this is a detail, especially it is useful for postgraduates if it is a question in the your theory exam. So I will not discuss in detail because there is a revised criteria now. The revised rules for classification are primary Sjogren syndrome, in which the criteria are classified any of the 4 of the 6 items from that previous list. And for secondary, if it's potentially associated disease, which we discussed about. And then the exclusion criteria are if there is a past head and neck radiation treatment, hepatitis C infection, acquired AIDS disease or pre-existing lymphoma, sarcoidosis, GVHD, use of anticholinergic drugs. So those things are there, then you may not be able to diagnose it as secondary Sjogren syndrome. The recommended workup for Sjogren syndrome consists of the Sermer test, a good slit lamp examination, and fluorescein staining, a tear film breakup, especially non-invasive. Then oral examination, systemic workup, especially a reference to a good rheumatologist, and ancillary test may not be required if the patient comes with a diagnosis, but if you are the first one who are managing it, then make sure that the patient is seen and referred appropriately to a rheumatologist. One of the most important differentiating feature, if you are dealing with a, with Sjogren associated dry eye or not, is doing the reflex staring test. And this in patients with Sjogren syndrome, there would not be any increase in reflex staring once you do the test. And in other dry eyes, there will be increase in the weighting in the this reflex testing. The assessment of ocular surface damage is important, and this is best done by surface staining. Both fluorescein and rose bengal are useful, and you may do a double staining as well. These are the fluorescein helps us in breaching the epithelium, while these rose bengal dead and decomposed or dying cells. The surface may appear something like that depending on the severity. Then there is alternative to rose bengal is Lisa membrane, and this is very similar to rose bengal, but it's better tolerated. The management options include a cornea specialist, rheumatologist, psychologist, and dentist. So it is a team which manages these patients. So especially don't worry only just about the dry eye. Psychological counseling or a clinical psychologist or a psychiatrist assessment might be equally important.
So 1 minute remaining.
Yeah, just I'll cover the management. So tear replacement therapy essentially is the main part. And this, the rationale behind tear substitutes, the polymer, electrolytes, buffer, and then the other management will come into picture. Specific to it will be the topical and systemic steroids. Rose lens I use very often, and this topical LFA antagonist is still not available in India, but in US it's already available. Surgical management may be a very limited role, only maybe punctal occlusion, maybe cataract surgery. If there is a PED, you may need to do an AMG and tarsorrhaphy. And rarely you may do a minor salivary gland transplantation. So in summary, it's a autoimmune disease needs topical and systemic immunomodulator and a multi team approach for the management. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doctor. That was a wonderful talk. Dr. Praveen, I would want you to take the questions in this topic.
I just have to say that, I mean, how succinctly you were able to cover everything about Sjogren's in 8 minutes.
Yes.
So thanks a lot, Sangwan, for that. You spoke about Sjogren's being inflammatory disease, like you said. And nowadays, I think there are a few companies that are coming up with test kits and with different ways in which you can measure inflammatory mediators in the tears. Do you see that becoming an important part of the diagnosis and management of Sjogren's in the future as well, or you think it's probably frivolous?
If you are doing some testing of a new treatment, or if you are doing a research, then they may be helpful. For your standard clinical management, I really don't see any value. I would more pay attention to patient symptoms and what the surface is telling you on assessment.
So I would just like to come in there, a little different perspective there from what Dr. Sangwan suggested, that one thing in dry eye signs, we depend on sign of damage. And by damage, by what we mean is we tell them it's irreversible damage. So I'm sure early Sjogren's patient would not have totally lost lacrimal gland, would still have significant inflammatory mediators in their tear film. So catching a patient earlier and treating them earlier with anti-inflammatory would be the future of the treatment. And as we wait for them to develop a sign where you have your Sherm's values are beyond repair and surface is showing significant damage, I feel these cases in future at least would be picked up much earlier and would be treated with appropriate anti-inflammatory molecules or site-specific treatment.
Yes, thank you very much. But I think we'll have to move on to our next speaker. We have 3 of them and all great speakers.